Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And this is a hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Pelham. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Please address your comments and questions through the chair. This public meeting has been called to satisfy requirements of the Planning Act and Council bylaws. Notice of this meeting has been given by prepaid first-class mail to all persons listed as owners in the last revised assessment roll within 60 meters or 200 feet of the subject properties. In addition, a public notice sign has been posted on the lands. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed should the application be approved. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. Any person concerned with the application will then be given an opportunity to speak. Please state your name and mailing address for the record. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions will be determined by the committee following the public portion of this hearing. All interested parties are invited to be present. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant or agent and to any other person who files a written request. There are colored forms for this purpose, which are available on the back table. Any person, corporation, or public body has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of consent to the Ontario Municipal Board within 20 days of the decision for minor variances and within 20 days of the mailing of the decision for consent applications. I'd like to introduce the hearing panel. On my far left is James Federico, Don Cook. My far right is Judy Shepard, our deputy clerk, and Nancy Bazzato, our town clerk, and myself, Wayne Lockey. I'll chair the meeting. Does any member of this panel have a pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing?
No, Mr. Chair.
No, Mr. Chair, I have none.
I have none. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment?
None that we're aware of, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Our second applicant is here, so if it's all right with everybody, we'll go to the second one, which is file A5-218, Joyce Sonnefeld. If you'd like to come up and take a seat up here, and if our Secretary Treasurer could read any correspondence.
Mr. Chair, the subject land is located on the north side of River Road, lying west of O'Reilly's Road North, being part of Lot 17 in the 14th concession, and known municipally as 381 River Road in the town of Pelham. The subject land is zoned agricultural A in accordance with the town of Pelham zoning bylaw 1136/1987 as amended. The minor variance application is requesting relief from section 7.4C, maximum lot coverage, to seek a 12% lot coverage, whereas 10% is permitted. Relief is sought to facilitate construction of a portion of the covered rear yard deck. The Public Works Department offers no comments. The Building Department indicates that all necessary permits will be required prior to construction commencing. The Fire Department offers no concerns or comment. The Region of Niagara Planning and Development Services offers no objection, provided the minimum setbacks to the sewage system continue to be met. And the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority also has no objections. A minor variance is weighted on 4 tests under the Planning Act. The first test is the minor variance. Is the variance nature? Is the variance minor in nature? I can't speak today. The proposed overall lot coverage will be slightly larger than the existing A-zone requirement of 10%. Considering the small parcel size, the variance can be accommodated with minimal impact. Adequate amenity area and open space for septic purposes remains available for the residents, even with the exceedance of the overall lot coverage. The second test is the variance desirable for the development of the land. I think somebody else is going to have to read for me today. Exceeding the maximum allowable lot coverage is desirable for the use of the land because it will enable the construction of a covered, I can't speak, of a covered rear deck, improving the amenity area and enhancing the outdoor living area. The third test, does the variance maintain the general purpose and intent of the official plan? Increasing the maximum overall lot coverage to 12% maintains the general intent of the official plan because the use of the property as a residential dwelling and the ability to farm the surrounding agricultural land is not being altered. The variance is appropriate given the site's rural context and meets the general intent of the town's official plan policies. The final test is, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Increasing the maximum overall lot coverage to 12% maintains the general intent of the zoning bylaw insofar as sufficient amounts of open space, amenity area, and land for private services remain on the property. The planning staff reports that the property is 0.25 hectare in land area and is not farmed, considered to be a rural residential lot. A demolition permit was obtained in 2017 for the removal of the existing dwelling and existing structures. This permit remains open because of the existing cistern. The site is a large distance away from any neighbors. The nearest residential dwellings are opposite the Welland River to the south in Wainfleet, and therefore increasing the allowable overall lot coverage will not negatively affect any neighboring properties as significant open land remains. Reasonable spatial separation is maintained through setbacks and stormwater runoff, and that shall be contained on site. The property falls within the regulation and screening area of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, though the agency provided no objections to the variance. Planning staff is of the opinion that the application meets the 4 minor variance tests laid out by the Planning Act. The application is consistent with provincial policies, the regional official plan, and conforms to the general intent of the town's official plan and zoning bylaw. The authorization of the minor variance is not expected to generate negative impacts for adjacent uses or the community at large. Consequently, planning staff recommend that the application, file A5, 2018, be approved, subject to the condition that all necessary building permits be obtained prior to construction commencing. And with apologies, Mr. Chair, that is all of the correspondence.
Thank you, Nancy. Could you state your names, please, for the records?
Joyce Sonneveld.
And Timothy Sonneville.
Okay. Is there anything you wish to add or comment on?
Nothing, I don't think we need to.
Okay. Thank you. Nobody in the audience, so I guess there's nobody there to comment. And okay, members of the committee, any comments,
No, Mr. Chair.
questions?
No, none, Mr. Chair.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that file A5 218, Joyce Sunfeld, be granted relief from the bylaw to permit lot coverage of 12% where 10% is permitted. My decision is based on the following reasons. The variance is minor in nature because no adverse impacts are anticipated. Secondly, the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw is being maintained. Thirdly, the intent of the official plan is being maintained. The proposal is desirable for the appropriate development and the use of the existing lot. Fifthly, this application is granted without prejudice of any other application in the town of Pelham. 6, no objections were received from commenting agency or abutting landowners. And the Committee of Adjustment has considered all written and oral comments and agrees that the minor variance report analysis recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act test for a minor variance. And I would move second that the variance be granted subject to the following condition, that all necessary building permits be obtained prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the town of Pelham. And I also realize that this section, you front on a regional road. That section, the section between the airport and O'Reilly's Road is actually part of a regional road. You may require to get a regional permit to put in a new culvert if you need to.
Oh, there's a driveway, because.
Yeah, for the new driveway culvert,
Yeah.
okay? But that is a regional road right there.
Oh, okay.
The region was circulated on the application.
But you only got comments from the planning department, you didn't get comments from Public Works.
But they're all consolidated, so they were circulated, yeah.
Do I have a seconder to the motion?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Passed. You have your,
Good to go.
you're done.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to the next. Frank Apingu. Hi, if you'd like to come up and take a seat in the hot seat. And Secretary, would you like to read any correspondence on file A4 218P?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject land is located on the west side of Farr Street, lying south of Weber Road and being part of Lot 18 in the 14th concession, Part 4 on Plan 59R 7416, known municipally as 260 Farr Street in the town of Pelham. The subject land is zoned agricultural A in accordance with Pelham zoning bylaw 1136, 1987 as amended. The minor variance application requests relief from section 74F minimum side yard seeking 6.8 meters to the north, whereas 9 meters is required, and section 7.4F minimum side yard seeking 6.8 meters to the south, whereas 9 meters is required. Relief is sought for construction of a single detached dwelling. Comments received from the Public Works Department. It should be noted that any grading concerns will be captured through the necessary lot grading plan submitted as part of the building permit process. The Building Department indicates that all necessary permits are required prior to construction commencing. The Fire Department and Bylaw Services has no comment or concern. The Region of Niagara also has no objection, provided the minimum setbacks to the sewage system continue to be met. The Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority offers no objection, and no comments were received from the public. A minor variance is weighted on 4 tests under the Planning Act, and the first test is the variance minor in nature. The Planning Department reports permitting both the north and south minimum side yard setbacks at 6.8 meters is minor overall because stormwater runoff will still be managed on site and adequate separation between the dwelling units is maintained. No public comments were received for this application. The second test is the variance desirable for the development or use of the land. The proposed dwelling exercises a footprint which encroaches upon the standard A zone minimum side yard setback of 9 meters. The property is fairly narrow when compared to the neighboring parcels. The variance offers some more degree of design flexibility, but maintains, in staff's opinion, an acceptable building setback. The third test is, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Reducing side yard setbacks maintains the intent of the official plan because it will not detract from the primary role of the good general agricultural area to protect land suitable for agricultural production. The final test, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? By reducing both side yard setbacks, it will still maintain the general intent of the zoning bylaw insofar as sufficient amounts of open space amenity area remain on the property, including spatial separation between neighboring dwellings and adequate area for side yard swales. The property falls within the regulation and screening areas of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, though the agency provided no objections to the variance. Planning staff is of the opinion that the application meets the 4 minor variance tests laid out by the Planning Act. The application is consistent with provincial policies, the regional official plan, and conforms to the general intent of the town's official plan and zoning bylaw. The authorization of the minor variance is not expected to generate negative impacts for adjacent uses or the community at large. Consequently, planning staff recommend that the application A4 2018 be approved, subject to the condition that all necessary building permits be obtained prior to construction commencing. Mr. Chair, that's all the correspondence for this application.
Thank you, Nancy. Would the applicant like to make any comments or?
I think that was very well said. I won't dare.
Okay, any questions from the panel? Comments, questions?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
I have none, Mr. Chair.
I'd be ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the application A4 2018P be granted for relief from the minimum side yard from 9 meters to 6.8 on the north and on the south. The above decision is based on the following reasons. The variance is minor in nature because stormwater runoff will still be managed on-site with adequate separation between dwelling units and no adverse impacts are anticipated. The general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained because there is enough open space as well as adequate area for side yard swales. The intent of the official plan is maintained because it will not detract from the primary role of the good general agriculture area to protect agricultural land. The proposal is desirable for the appropriate development and or use of the land because it offers design flexibility and maintains an acceptable building setback. This application is granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. No objections were received from commenting agencies or abutting property owners. The Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act tests for minor variance. And the above decision is subject to the following conditions: that all necessary building permits must be obtained prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the Town of Pelham Chief Building Official.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion?
I'll second that, Mr.
All in
Chairman.
favor? Passed. You're granted.
Okay, thank you. So I can, like, tomorrow, put the building permit in?
You can apply
Apply?
for the building permit, can't you, tomorrow?
Through you, Mr. Chair, you could make an application for the building permit, but they won't be able to issue it until after the 20-day appeal period has ended, and that will be up after March 26th.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much. And can I get copies of your presentation or no?
We can forward a copy of that. Sure.
Thank you
It's
so
basically a
much.
synopsis of what you have in your correspondence there.
That you just gave me today?
Yep.
Okay, great. Then that's fine. Thank you. Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, any minutes or anything to go over?
Yeah. February 6th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that the minutes of February 6th be approved as prepared.
Thank you.
I will second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Passed. And I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for adjournment.
Seconded.
For adjournment, good. 17 minutes. Not bad for two.
I've got some minutes out there.